Ruto was a slum dweller who often snuck into the junkyards of the wealthy to steal whatever still had use. However, when he gets framed for the murder of his foster father, and tossed into the pit where all the world's garbage ends up, he is forced to fight towering monsters made of trash in order to climb his way back up, and claim his revenge. The world itself is split into two halves. On one side lies the pristine city, where the rich live in luxury, sipping their lives like fine wine. And on the other side exist the slums, where people like him are forced to rot. The only thing linking the two is the pit, the bottomless dump where all garbage flows, including criminals. The rich throw away even slightly damaged things without a thought. Like the woman who tells her daughter to toss the puppy toy she had just bought, simply because it got a little damaged. She says the toy will only look ugly if they repair it, and they can just buy another later. The girl, who already acts like a future rich villain, nods without a problem. The mother casually throws the puppy toy, along with other junk, into the garbage vent that connects to an underground truck tunnel, leading everything to a massive trash collection site. Down there, the young Ruto is already present, scavenging through the goods the trucks haul in. He sneaks deeper into the collection site and slips into one of the rooms. But luck runs out when a guard hears some rustling. The man barges in with his gun aimed at Ruto, spitting insults, calling him a disgusting degenerate ruining the city's beauty by hoarding trash. Ruto does not even bother replying because he hears that exact line every Tuesday, sometimes twice if it is a holiday. But the guard sets off the alarm, summoning backup. More guards rush in, but Ruto quickly hurls garbage bags at them. The clean freaks panic the moment raw eggs splatter their spotless uniforms, freezing in place as Ruto climbs up the vent. He reaches near the exit, but the gate slams shut right in his face. More guards appear behind him. They start shooting at him, but Ruto casually dodges the bullets while doing parkour through the hall. He then runs in a straight line towards the exit, and the guards can't hit him even then because they all graduated from the Stormtrooper Academy. However, one stray bullet grazes Ruto's arm just as he jumps over the wall, getting out of the guard sight. While they waste their time searching for him, he climbs out of a sewer hole, cursing the guards because what's the point of guarding garbage when no one wants it? By the next day, the news of the garbage raiders spreads across the city, with the upper-class citizens pointing fingers at the slum dwellers. On the other side of the wall, however, the slum folk know exactly who did it because it is not Ruto's first time sneaking into the trash sites. They believe he will get caught one day, and most of them secretly hope he does. Ruto does not care about their opinions as he sets up his shop to sell the repaired goods he found. His friend Shiwa storms in, scolding him, demanding why he risks so much just to dig through the garbage of the city people. Ruto replies that the rich toss out perfectly usable things without care. He feels sorry for the items, so he retrieves them. And if he makes some money selling them, that is just a bonus. Chiwa sighs, half understanding him. But then, 3 boys show up, pinching their noses and whining about the stench of garbage. They warn Chiwa to stay away from Ruto, or she will smell just as foul. They mock his thick black gloves, which apparently have not been washed since Obama was in office, and claim one touch will give anyone rashes. One boy kicks a lantern Ruto had just fixed, sneering that no one would buy this trash anyway. He says Ruto's hands must be even creepier than the gloves, which is why he keeps them hidden. Ruto endures their words silently, but when one boy calls him the son of a murderer, his rage boils over. The insults do not stop either. They say the slum itself was built to imprison criminals, and that the current residents are just their cursed descendants. That is why everyone tries so hard to keep their reputation clean. But Ruto's father, they claim, ruined it all by becoming a murderer. Ruto cannot put up with the insults any longer, and he shoots such a deadly glare at the boys that they nearly soil their pants before bolting away. Even while running, they keep cursing him and saying he will surely become a murderer like his father one day. Ruto simply returns to fixing the lantern quietly, hammering away like he is smashing their words into silence. Chiwa then tells him that she believes he is actually a good person who will never turn into the kind of man his father was. Ruto blushes so hard that it looks like someone splashed red paint on him. Before he can mumble his thanks, Chiwa notices the puppy toy sitting nearby. It turns out Ruto picked it up last night from the dump as a gift for her, though he has been building up the courage to hand it over. But before his courage bar can fill up to 100%, Chiwa's mother shows up out of nowhere, and drags her away like a raid boss pulling an NPC. Ruto heads home afterward and finds his foster father, Regto, waiting for him with the look of someone who knows too much. Regto immediately starts imitating Ruto's nervous stuttering from earlier when he tried to give the puppy to Chiwa, leaving Ruto turning so red that a tomato might sue him for copyright infringement. Ruto curses himself for not noticing Recto spying the whole scene. Recto brushes it off, saying that they will talk about his failed romantic side quest later, because first they need to discuss Ruto's late-night junkyard adventure. He tells Ruto not to push himself too much since they are not exactly starving, unlike his shopping cart full of trash. He also thinks Ruto is pushing hard because he still feels a bit indebted after being adopted, considering his real father was tossed into the pit for murder. Ruto explains it is not about debt at all. To him, Recto is real family and he just wants to do his share. Recto smirks and says he should be just as honest with Chiwa, causing Ruto to fumble like he just got hit with a lag spike. In his clumsy panic, he reopens the bullet wound from last night. Recto quickly switches from teasing dad to healer mode, giving him first aid, and also rewrapping the bandages around his scarred hands. As Ruto stares at his hands, his memory rewinds to how they have always been injured, earning stares and whispers from people who judged him without mercy. Sometimes the wounds burned so badly he thought his hands were cooking on a grill. Then came the day Recto gave him the thick black gloves that somehow suppressed the pain, a gift that became his armor against the world. Once the patchwork is done, Recto pokes fun again, warning Ruto to confess his feelings to Chiwa soon, before another guy pulls an NPC romance steal. While the two of them banter like a sitcom duo, a masked stranger hides in the shadows outside, listening to every word like a nosy neighbor in horror mode. The next day, Ruto finally grinds enough courage points to confess properly. He walks toward Chiwa's home holding the puppy like a knight holding a legendary artifact. On the way, however, he comes across a grim but all too common sight in the slums. At the edge lies the pit where all the city's garbage and condemned criminals are dumped. Today, another unfortunate man is about to be thrown in. Ruto stands frozen, watching the execution, and wondering what truly happens to the people inside that abyss. Just then, Chiwa arrives beside him, saying the sight is brutal. Ruto panics because he was absolutely not ready for a sudden encounter. Chiwa starts chatting about the executions and the harshness of it all, then suddenly turns serious, telling Ruto she does not want him to end up thrown into that pit. She explains that while there may be many things worth saving from the trash, risking his life over it is not worth it. Ruto admits that Recto told him the exact same thing. Chiwa smiles softly and says it is because Recto loves him too. Ruto's 2 MB RAM brain overheats trying to process her words. He thinks Chiwa just confessed that she loves him too. Chiwa immediately realizes how her words can be taken, and goes red like a malfunctioning light bulb. But by then Ruto is already glitching, clutching his face and rolling on the ground from happiness overload. He then gathers enough sense to hand her the puppy toy, awkwardly saying that she might not want it since it came from the garbage, but he thought the toy would be happier with her. To his shock and joy, Chiwa accepts it warmly, saying she will treasure it. That single moment fills Ruto with more happiness than he has ever felt in his life. On his way back, he dances and hops through the streets like a kid who just cleared a final boss, already plotting how to brag to Recto about his victory. Along the way, he bumps into some city guards. They do not bother with him at all, brushing past like he is invisible. But Ruto cannot help but wonder why they are suddenly snooping around the slums. Anyway, Ruto reaches home and begins telling Recto about everything that happened just as he pushes the door open. But he freezes in shock when he sees Recto lying on the ground with a creepy masked man on top of him. The masked man turns his head, takes one look at Ruto, and then drives his knife even deeper into Recto's body. Ruto completely loses it at the sight and charges at the masked killer, but he gets struck so hard that he doesn't even realize the moment he gets knocked out. By the time Ruto regains his senses, the masked murderer has already finished his job. The man casually picks up a book from the floor and walks outside, briefly glancing at Ruto before leaving. Ruto tries to follow him, but then he hears Recto's faint voice. Recto is somehow still alive. With his final breath, he begs Ruto to run away. Ruto rushes to his side, insisting that he will bring help, but Recto just keeps repeating that he must run, and change this rotten heap of a world into something better. With that, Recto's body finally goes limp, and Ruto is unable to process what just happened. At that very moment, soldiers storm inside and immediately zap him, declaring that he is the murderer. They slam him to the ground and tell him he is under arrest for murder. Ruto shouts back that it wasn't him. But the guards tell him that nothing he says matters anymore since they caught him red-handed. He tries desperately to explain that the real murderer had just left, and they still have a chance to catch him, but the guards don't bother to listen. Instead, they knock him out the traditional way, with a punch to the head. Soon, Ruto is dragged to the scaffold where his execution is about to take place. Everyone from the slums gathers to witness him being thrown into the pit, and even high-profile nobles from the main city come to watch. The judge declares that murder is among the greatest crimes a person can commit. And even though Ruto only killed a lowly slum dweller, the punishment will not be reduced. He announces that Ruto will be executed by being thrown into the pit, and the crowd erupts into cheers at the verdict. Ruto still can't believe any of this is real. He silently wishes that just one person would believe he is innocent. His eyes scan the crowd, and they finally lock on Chiwa. Ruto yells out to her, insisting that he did not kill Regto and begging her to find the real culprit. But Chiwa only says that she trusted him, and he was not worthy of that trust. She calls him a murderer's son after all, and then drops the toy he gave her as she turns her back on him. That betrayal cuts deeper than anything else, and Ruto completely snaps. He screams at the crowd, calling them the true filth, just mindless piles of meat without a brain or will of their own. He swears that one day he will send them all to hell. In that moment, his eyes widen as he notices the real murderer among the crowd. But before he can expose him, the guards push him off the edge. Ruto feels like he is falling forever, and eventually he loses consciousness. Luckily, the mountain of garbage piled at the bottom breaks his landing. When he wakes up, he finds himself completely unharmed. Confused, he wonders how he is still alive, but then the foul stench of the pit overwhelms him. Even a garbage thief like him is forced to cover his nose. As he looks around, he sees an endless sea of trash along with strange things he doesn't recognize. Ruto mutters in disbelief, trying to figure out what this place really is, when suddenly a massive shadow looms over him. He slowly turns his head, and his eyes go wide as he sees a gigantic monster made entirely out of garbage, bearing its fangs right at him. The story will be continued in future videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.